Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning when you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me speak for the love of God.
When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said.
So last week, Ben, we recorded over Zoom and you were a little bit worried about those arse grooves in the chair being reshaped.
Yes.
So
yes, I was concerned.
now that you're here, what's the verdict?
I honestly can't remember if I'm sitting in the correct seat.
You are.
I sat where the headphones were.
Did Glenn do the switcheroo?
Did you do the switch? I can't tell.
After a good sniff, I switched.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. Anyway.
Who knows what I left on those seats?
Oh, Melzy.
Oh, well,
He's ticking over.
I'm just not going to engage in that.
Hey, you know what? This week is a huge week for horror fans because the highly anticipated Evil Dead Rise is being released to cinemas. So I want to get that out of the way because that is why we're playing the music that we're playing.
Booyakasha.
That's the voice of Doris Day there to kick us off. Reason being, it's the song they play in the trailer for Evil Dead Rise,
Which I've purposely not watched. I haven't seen. I haven't seen the trailer. I have not seen. I did not get to go to a media screening of the film. Mm-hmm. So I have just avoided everything.
People are chomping at the bit for this movie. So to wet their whistles, we've got a chat coming up today with the two stars of that, but we'll get to that shortly. G'day to all of our listeners. A very warm welcome to those of you who are listening for the first time. And you haven't chosen the wrong podcast. And if you have, well, stick with it.
I don't know. Started off, we're talking about chair sniffing.
Yeah. Well, this is Good Movie Monday, and we are the weekly podcast dedicated to nerdy cinematic ramblings. My name's Glenn Cochran, Master of Ceremonies. Sitting across from me is Ben Helwig, otherwise known as the glue that binds everything. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Very good. Glad to be back in Aussie, as they say in New Zealand.
It's great to have you back, and we're fully loaded on pizza.
Jesus, are we? I'm ready to take a nap. I consume so much pizza.
Oh, shit. So our website is goodmoviemonday.com, so make sure you go and have a look at that. It gives you all the links to all of our social medias, and you know what to do with that. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all of that kind of stuff. We do have the Bonehead Weekly Fun Size segment coming up, which is considered, I guess, an exclusive version or micro version of their regular Bonehead Weekly podcast. They're from Kentucky in the US. A lot of fun. And in a few minutes, we're going to bring Jarrett from Monster Fest into the show to chat about what's new being released on physical media this week. But I want to quickly pick your brain a little bit, Ben.
All right.
So after my recommendation, I think it was last week, Tetris.
Yes.
You went and watched it.
I did, indeed.
How did my description hold up? I said it was Air meets Bridge of Spies. Not very good?
No. Let me think. Yes. I guess for me it was more. Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good description. I was thinking of Air, and I can't remember the name of the film, but that one where Linda Hamilton plays the battle. It's like a Battle of the Bulge movie where it's a made for TV film. She's a college age student, but she's Russian, and she's studies English, and so then they send her off to basically the spy school to infiltrate at American towns as an average American teen.
No, I don't know it.
It's amazing. Sally Kellerman's in it. I think it's...
And hang on, how does that relate to Tetris?
But so that's... verse and...
and Air.
And Air.
Oh, gotcha.
But Bridge of Spies does kind of pay into it. I was a bit disappointed. I thought... I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I thought it started halfway through the movie.
It hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have come in a bit earlier, and I hope they do a Tetris prequel. Or a doco. If Netflix want to do a doco on the actual thing, and someone's going to write in and go, Oh, they've already done it, you fucking idiot.
I got to admit, I was surprised that by the time the movie begins, Tetris is already an established game in Russia. It's very popular over there. Like, I would have liked to see the origin of the creation, like, what drove him to create it. And
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to pick your brain on that.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I highly recommend everyone out there get themselves an Apple subscription.
Yeah, well, there's a cheeky little recommendation before we recommend him.
Before we recommended anything.
Now let's recommend Newsly. Alrighty, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. You know what I'm going to be talking about. This is the Newsly app, the super app that you can put into the palm of your hand, absolutely free. It takes all of the highest trending articles from around the world, according to what you like. You might be into drama, you might be into politics, you might be into religion, whatever it is, film, and it reads them back to you in a natural human voice. Very handy for when you're on the go or you just can't be bothered reading. And the best part is they have a free premium service, and you can get yourself a whole month of free premium by using the code Monday without the O, MNDAY. So make sure you listen to us, Good Movie Monday, as well as the Wednesday Up Late podcast on Newsly. Newsly.me. Well, this has now become, I think, my favourite part of the show. Hey, Jarrett.
Hey, Glenn. I wanted to combine both your names, like a.
My name does combine them both.
Yeah, well, it's true actually. There you go. Or can I call you Glenn?
If you want.
Glenn sounds good.
All right, Glenn.
That is our celebrity couple name.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm just waiting for the breakup, the reunion, the breakup again. What do they call the J-Lo Ben Affleck one? What do they call those? What are they called?
Benifer. There was Benifer.
That's it. It's funny actually because I've taken to Jennifer Lopez. I didn't mind her early in her career, but then I just had no interest when the music came along and all those dud movies like Made in Manhattan and all that shit.
Watch your tongue.
When she started referring to herself as Jenny from the Block.
Admittedly, I did like the song, though.
The song was all right.
But then, I've had a renaissance, and I'm digging, all the films that she's done lately, the Marry Me and the Second Chance or whatever it was. I'm liking that. And, and Ben Affleck, he's had a bit of a dark couple years for me because he's just been doing pretty average films, aside from recently Air, which is a bit of a return to form for him for me.
Actually, and I had managed to watch Air with you, and while we were on the plane, Shotgun Wedding. So I had a good benefit kind of reunion.
So Air has been getting a lot of air on the show the last couple of weeks,
and it needs it. Actually, did you see on the news that a pair of Air Jordans that Jordan wore in his I don't know the NBA that well, but let's just say it's the 2016 Premiership, whatever. Anyway, these shoes, he sold these signed shoes, and they sold for $3.5 million. And he gave them to some kid there because this kid traded him something. So this kid's now sold it via an auction house. $3.5 million for a signed pair of Air Jordans. I'm like, that's fantastic.
I don't understand.
I got a mate that sold a pair of thongs on Craigslist for $50 to a pervert at 11 p.m. at Balaclava Station, but that's not $3.5 million.
I don't know how it is that I can't afford a...
Did you see on the news that a pair of Air Jordans that Jordan wore in his... I don't know the NBA that well, but let's just say it's the 2016 Premiership, whatever. Anyway, these shoes... he sold these signed shoes, and they sold for $3.5 million. And he gave them to some kid there because this kid traded him something. So this kid's now sold it via an auction house. $3.5 million for a signed pair of Air Jordans. I'm like... that's fantastic.
I don't understand.
I got a mate that sold a pair of thongs on Craigslist for $50 to a pervert at 11 p.m. at Balaclava Station, but that's not $3.5 million.
I don't know how it is that I can't afford a Karen Allen love pillow from Japan, and yet some asshole can spend $3 million on a pair of shoes. Karen Allen love pillow from Japan, and yet some asshole can spend $3 million on a pair of shoes.
That's amazing. Did you say Karen Allen is in the actress? Yeah. Karen Allen from Starman?
Yeah. But it's young. It's not weird. It's young Karen Allen.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Yeah, no. Let me know if they get a buy one, get one free sale. We'll go Harvey's. Save on shipping.
That's a menage a trois.
You want one too, but you want in on this, Glenn?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well,
doesn't
even if
want-
they've
who
got a
doesn't?
to sale.
Who doesn't? You push the button and it takes a shot like in Indiana Jones.
Well, I want a Snuggie with her print on the outside so I can sleep inside her.
Oh, wow. And that was the moment the show got cancelled.
All right, mate. What's coming out this week?
All right. Well, this week there's some exciting releases coming from Roadshow. They're from the Warner catalogue, and Warner, of course, is celebrating their 100th anniversary as a studio. As such, they're pumping out some of the classics. Now, I did mention these, I think, a couple of months ago, maybe a month ago. I think we've only been on the air for about a month. But we've got the Maltese Falcon, we've got Rebel Without a Cause, and we've got Cool Hand Luke, all coming out on 4K Ultra HD. And the good part is they come with the Blu-ray as well. So that means you're going to get all the special features. Plus, if you're not 4K savvy yet, you can just grab it, and then when you are 4K savvy, when the format dies because you didn't get in on day one and supported the format, you'll be able to watch it when they're clearing the 4K players cheap. But yeah, those three are coming out from Roadshow. Nothing new in terms of extra content, just archival content, but regardless, really exciting to see some classic films come to 4K. And particularly these films.
Do we get the shiny slipcase, or is that...
We don't, sir. No. You'll be grateful you get an Amaray with 2 discs. And you'll have...
You'll be happy.
You'll be happy with that. You'll pay the same price. Well, in fact, all of these obviously releasing this week. Now, I think JB's actually got a sale maybe till the end of April, buy 2, get 1 free, so you could probably get the 3 of them for the price of 2. So that might be some comfort since we can't get that Karen Allen pillow.
That's
3
their
for 2 at this point in time.
That's their slogan in the marketing meetings. They'll be happy.
That totally sounds like it. They'll just be grateful that they got it.
I'm going to hit that kid up who got the $3 million for the shoes.
Well, I can put you in contact with my friend Dave, who sold his thongs on market.
Thongs, yeah.
on Craigslist.
I mean, that kid really doesn't need 2.
No.
He
it's
could give me $1
ridiculous.
million and it wouldn't affect his life at all.
No, that's it. Well, let's find out where that kid lives, and we'll trade him 3 Blu-rays or 4Ks: the Maltese Falcon, Cool Hand Luke, and the other one, which I've forgotten. Rebel Without a Cause, the only one I'm really, really excited about.
I
think
I'm
interested in the other 2.
talking about Air. I shared a joke with you guys privately. Did you see Aaron Coggs, the comedian, proposed an Aussie version of Air where fucking Dunlop tried to headhunt Andrew Gaze?
Yes, that would be amazing. I can see it now too. It'll be just terrific. It could be like a Stan original, but then again, no. It'll probably be made for Channel 9, which means it'll have like a third of the budget.
The best part about it is, though, you'll never see Andrew Gaze's face or that stupid fake grin that he always has on his.
And the movie will be called Dunnies.
Dunnies, I like. As long as they do have, a scene in it with him being courted by Hungry Jacks as well to do some sort of sponsorship there. So no, I fully embrace that. We need more Australian sports people movies and definitely more Dunlop volley movies or Dunlop in general.
I just want Cliffy too.
Yes, totally. Cliffy returns. Cliffy's second run.
I'd like a late sequel to The Club.
Yeah, totally.
This time, more racist, more sexist, and
more drug use. Because if
drugs.
there's anything about the AFL in this day and age, it's every time I'm turning on the news, one of them's doing coke. Whether they did coke last weekend, whether their wife was doing coke on a Kmart plate, or whether in fact they did coke 5 years ago on Snapchat, which I didn't even realise was still around, and the videos have finally surfaced. So yeah, I don't know. Those AFL players are getting paid an awful lot of money if they can afford cocaine.
I mean, who would have thought that, was it 10 years ago, whenever it was, when Fraser Gehrig got so pissed at a St Kilda nightclub that he pissed on the bar thinking he was at the urinal. And then, like 5 years later, who was it? He played for Carlton, and he got done for pissing at like a shop front after a night on the piss. That it'd get even better.
They're just leveling up.
Would get even better than that. Like
the movie's writing itself right now.
It's leveling up.
We'd reach that high watermark with the public urination, but apparently not.
And the beautiful thing is too, I don't know if you lads have heard this, but Victoria's abolished this, drunken disorderly or drunk in public sort of rule thing. So it means you could get these AFL players, get them pissed up, and as long as they're not pissing in public, they can pretty much get away with murder.
Yeah.
And that should be the story.
And that one's coming out next week on Blu-ray, gentlemen.
Fast track.
Moving on to Umbrella Entertainment, they've got some really great titles this week. First up is The Tunnel, the 2011 Aussie found footage film. I'm a big fan of it. We celebrated its 10th anniversary last year at Monster Fest.
We had the director on the show.
Oh yeah, of course, yes, and it's just such a great. I still feel like it's fairly underrated, and this Blu-ray release compiles all the archival material that was available on the 2-disc DVD back in the day, the Blu-ray that they put out that they self-released, and now it's got the 2021 retrospective documentary on there as well that we premiered at Monster Fest last year. So it's a great package, and it's good to see that film finally get.
That was a good documentary.
Oh, it's a terrific documentary. Yeah, I loved it.
Do you know, did they release the doco on Pirate Bay as well? Is that part of the strategy?
Well, that's a great aspect of the documentary, funnily enough, as well. And when we did the Q&A afterward, it was sort of like, it was just such in the infancy of doing something like that it didn't quite succeed. And obviously a big reason why, a lot of other companies didn't want to touch it because they were kind of worried. But the aspect we released that for free. Yeah, exactly. We want to make some money. How do we make
Somebody
some money?
had to do that, just to test the waters.
Exactly. It's like Radiohead did it with that record, in Rainbows or whatever it was with the sliding scale. We're putting on the internet. You choose how much to pay. Well, I don't know. Later era Radiohead, I'll probably slide toward the 0 and I'll take the download and never listen to it. But don't put it on my iPod without asking me like you two did, because I'll have none of that.
Bono takes full responsibility.
Yeah, rightly
he literally
so.
does. Yeah,
rightly so. There should be a class action against him.
Apparently, the Apple executives are saying you really don't want to be doing that, and he's like, no, we can do it. We're the biggest band in the world. See what happens.
Yeah,
incredible. Umbrella have also got Weird Al coming out, the Al Yankovic story. I think it's just actually called Weird.
Weird, yeah.
And that's coming out on 4K Blu-ray and DVD, and that's a global first on 4K Ultra HD. It actually might be a global first across all the formats, but yeah, it's hard to say whether anyone else will be doing a 4K of it anytime soon. I've still yet to see it. I really want to check it out, so I'm looking forward to that one streeting. And then the last release I want to mention from Umbrella is that they're reissuing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. However, it's in this Stankovision, which has video prompts throughout the movie for you to break out your scratch and sniff card. And,
I was going to ask what's the mechanism there.
Yeah, well, I don't know what smells you've got. Obviously, you're going to have pizza because, the turtles love their pizza, but they live in a sewer with a rat, so I don't know how great the other smells are going to be. But I can't remember, is there any fart jokes in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie?
No, I don't think so.
But I mean,
that's a missed opportunity.
I'm just hoping
they've gone back in and added some farts.
I'm just hoping that all the smells smell like Stinkor's feet from the Masters of the Universe.
Oh,
toy.
Yes.
Because I miss
magnificent.
that smell.
I know. I've still. Actually, no. I sold him about 2 years ago, but I had one. He was in pretty pristine condition, and he still had a bit of that smell about him. But it was almost like a love letter that your girlfriend wrote you when you're 14. If you're worried you smelt too much of it, the perfume smell would go.
Really confused child. I used to love the smell of G.I. Joe's head and strawberry shortcake. It was a real.
I can't wait for that. That's got to be on the TikTok. You doing that?
TikTok right there, totally.
No, that's terrific.
There'll be a lot of trouble if it's not, Glenn. There'll be a lot of trouble.
It'll be up there.
I'm surprised I turned out as well as I did because when I was a kid, I loved the smell of gasoline. Anytime we'd go to the petrol station, I'd be like. So I'm glad I didn't end up huffing gas.
That's right. I thought Samson and Delilah was nostalgic.
Ooh, if you didn't get cancelled for that Karen Allen comment, then that's the one. Okay, so there's one more release from Umbrella this week, A Bittersweet Life, which I think is a Korean film. I've admittedly never seen this one. Madman put out the DVD of it many years ago under the Eastern Eye label, and it's one I've been meaning to check out for some time, so I'm glad that that's getting a Blu-ray release. And then the last two distributors I'll quickly mention is Madman's releasing The Whale on Blu-ray and DVD. Looking forward to finally checking that one out when I have the courage to watch it. I feel like
that needs a Stinkovision version.
Oh god, yeah. Well, I can only go by the trailer, but having not watched Irreversible yet, but having rented it a million times and now owning it on Blu-ray in the cupboard of shame, I hope to add The Whale to that. And maybe I'll do it as a double header one day and then just top myself
When you set up the Astor in your house, like the little Astor
The
theater.
little ass. And then I'll put it on social media so I can get people commenting going, well, is this a fucking double?
Yeah.
What's this? What is this a double? Fucking idiots. I liked it better when back in 2006 when everything was on film.
Yeah. Why didn't you do the whale and whale rider?
Why didn't you do the whale and sperm whale rider? And folks, that's a callback to last week's episode. Okay, so one more release. I've got one more, and it's from Disney, and it's Empire of Light, which is the new Sam Mendes film, which I had not seen either. I've heard mixed things about it. It looks like one for Disney Plus that I'll probably put in the queue right after Ant-Man 3 and never watched.
It's a movie full of like great performances, and just the story is confused and doesn't know what it wants to be.
Is it as depressing as Revolutionary Road? Because I love the depressive aspect of that movie. Watching them fight for the entire film, it was fucking hard.
Yeah, no, it's a hard one. Like, you think you're going into like this love letter of cinema, but it's not.
Oh, okay. So it's no Babylon then. There's no elephants shitting.
Yeah. I usually find that movies that are love letters to cinema are boring as batshit, like the cinema that the people who make them love.
It's usually self-indulgent.
Like Rob Zombie's love letters to the genre, which is what, like, everyone lives in a trailer park. Seemingly, Sherry Moon Zombie can play anyone of any age. And I'll stop right there because I'm sure there's plenty of Rob Zombie fans out there. And admittedly, I do like The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. House of a Thousand Corpses celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, and they've given it a really nice release in the States. And locally, nothing yet. I think Umbrella might still have the license on it, so maybe we'll see something come of it. But sadly, it's just a Blu-ray overseas. They're not doing a 4K of it. And I dare say we'll never, ever see that version that Rob Zombie promised for, like, I don't know, like a decade. So
Rednecks can't afford 4K.
I feel like they're the... like Tarantino keeps promising to release the uncut, extended cut versions of all his films that never... They never come out. They're all just rumours.
They're all liars, like James Cameron with The Abyss and True Lies. He just wants to talk about that shit when he's got to promote something else. And then you got Peter Jackson. He's no better. Every time he's got some documentary coming out, he's talking about restoring the original elements of all his original films, and yet we've seen nothing.
I wish they'd released
I take it all with a grain of salt.
I wish they'd released the special edition of films that went for 60 minutes and they had to hastily shoot more scenes just to boost the time. Or the extended credit sequences.
That'd be amazing, because I want to see it restored back to its original 60-minute duration.
Yeah.
That's kind of nifty, because, what do we do on this show when we haven't got much to talk about? We drag this segment out, and you've chewed up half the time.
Perfect, gentlemen. Well, it's always a pleasure, so thank you for having me, and I look forward to talking to you again next week about anything other than home entertainment news.
If we're still on the air.
More about Karen Allen. Yeah, of course.
I'll have the order forms ready for next week.
I'll see you later, Glenn.
There we go. That's always fun to have Jared on the show every week. I like the new thing we're doing. It's good fun. And now it's time to spin that wheel, Ben. Let's do it. I've got the wheel lined up, and we're going to just talk about whatever it fucking lands on.
Excellent. I hope I get stuck on the fire hydrant hose.
This is...
The Wheel of Fish.
Oh, there's so many things I want to say about that. Was that Cooney? Cooney hosted that show? Here we go, spin the wheel. Wherever it lands, we talk about. And I don't even remember what I've put on this thing. All right, industrial action movies.
Oh, I like that it gives you an applause after you select it, after it comes up with an answer. Like you've won something.
Yep.
Industrial action films. I mean, I haven't actually, immediately what springs to mind are things like Norma Ray.
Mate One.
And Mate One.
Yeah.
I have seen that one. I was going to say, was it North Country?
Oh, that's a good one.
Which I remember when North Country came out, I was like, I really should watch Norma Ray before I watch this, and I haven't watched either of them.
Very, very similar. I think North Country's much better.
But Mate One is fantastic.
It is. And when I think of Mate One, I think of what's the Richard Lowenstein one? Not Spellbound. The one that was
Dogs in Space.
The one that was filmed all down in the One Thuggy Mines, all about the mine collapse that happened down there and the industrial action surrounding that. I think it's called Spellbound.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's fantastic. Strikebound.
Strikebound.
Fantastic movie. I have that on DVD somewhere. I should lend it to you.
I will probably watch it right after Norma Ray and North Country.
And then Mate One again. Yeah, Mate One is one of those movies that pretty much obscure in Australia. Even now, you'd mention it and not many people here have heard of it. But
what about Blue Collar? Does that count as it? It's not really industrial action. I mean, it is because it's all about the unions.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's all about it's the one... It's Yaphet Kotto and Harvey Keitel and Richard Pryor. And it's set in the car. They're all auto workers in Detroit, I'm assuming.
Haven't seen it, though.
And what's his name? Lane Smith is their like union rep on the floor, but he's definitely a company crony.
He's always a company crony.
And they're all... the unions are definitely controlled by the mob and then they kind of hold new elections and they want to become...
Well, speaking of the mob, Hoffa.
And what's the other
Irishman.
one with...
the same story.
What's the one with Sylvester Stallone where he's playing Nighthawks or something like that? He's playing Hoffa?
No. That's... Nighthawks, isn't that the one that was the French Connection 3 originally?
Yeah, I know.
And they changed it? No.
I really haven't never seen it. I always get it mixed up with... what's that one with Timothy Hutton and Falcon and the Snowman?
Oh, rightio. I don't know how.
They have no... Sean Penn. They have no relation to each other.
Industrial action.
But isn't there one where Fist?
Yeah, that's
Fist.
Fist, yeah.
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 Because is he playing Hoffa in Fist? Is that what the...
I don't know if it's Hoffa, but it's Hoffa-like.
Oh, what about Kill the Irishman?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great one. I mean, it starts off as a union movie, and I guess it is. Like, throughout the whole thing, Ray Stevenson is the union boss, and it has that great scene where they're having the barbecue in their house and the bikers move in across the road. And he goes over there because they insult the woman next door or something like that. He goes over there and he beats the living shit out of the dirty, filthy bikers. It's great.
Haven't seen it.
Very reminiscent of that. There's that mafia movie that's kind of like basically Goodfellas, but it's Chaz Palminteri instead. And the bikers, there's this gang of bikers, and they've been known to go into bars and destroy the place over an insult that they basically incite.
Yeah, right.
And they go into this, but they don't realize it's a mob-controlled bar. And Chaz Palminteri comes in and asks them to leave, and they tell him to go fuck himself. And so basically he turns around and then locks the door. And the voiceover is like, that was the point they realized that, it's not that they couldn't get out. It was not that they couldn't get in. It was that now they couldn't get out. And then all of they're all super fat mobsters come in and just beat the shit out of the
Chaz is
bikers.
always Godfather light.
He was. It's like he was. I feel like he for some reason just missed out. He should have been in all those movies.
Yeah.
And instead they got...
he didn't even pop up in number 3 of the
Godfather.
Godfather.
Who's the guy he's in Goodfellas, and he's one of the guys that, spoiler alert, that De Niro kills, but he's got like the weird Soul Glow hair that's in a triangle. It's like a triangle mullet, and he's in like the Jerky Boys music video.
Wasn't
with
he in Caddyshack? No, Cannibal Run 2? One of the mobsters that's flying the helicopter?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. He's always in those...
Yeah.
I think he might be in one of the Godfathers as well, like 2 or 3.
Yeah, he had a fro and a half.
Yeah, he's got this it's a really weird fro.
Yeah. What about on the waterfront?
Yeah, like Elia Kazan,
Going right
Marlon
back.
Brando.
Yeah, it's a great movie, that one. I can't think of many, though. This is a tricky one. I remember a while ago I got really invested in this.
There's a lot of like strike type movies.
Yeah.
Strike is one. Where there's all like strike busters. They're all like strike busters.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's a dud spin, I think.
Yeah.
No more?
Oh, isn't there that? What was that one about? There's a doco about it, about the unions trying to get into Walmart, and how Walmart actually have they literally have a team that come in to bust any talk of unions. Like they come in, they hold up promotions, they hold up raises, they do all this sort of stuff the minute anyone starts talking about unionizing, and to people who are earning, because a pay rise seems like it's like $1 extra an hour, but when you're earning $10,000 a year, that $1 an hour is a massive increase.
Adds up, yep. There we go. Well, no, I can't think of any more, so I think we're just going to move on. How about a song?
Let's do it.
Sister Christian, oh, the time has come, and you know that you're the only one to say, okay. Where you going, what you looking for? You know those boys don't wanna play no more with you. It's true. You're motoring, yeah,
So back when we were talking to Jarrett, I mentioned that Air has been getting a lot of air on the show, and so there was a song from the soundtrack, "Sister Christian" by Night Ranger, and what a banger soundtrack, Ben!
Isn't that also on the Boogie Nights soundtrack.
It's been on how many soundtracks has that been on?
Yeah. That's why I know it from Boogie Nights. But it is in there. But the Air soundtrack is phenomenal, and I look forward to buying it on vinyl and then just listening to it on Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify's. I've got so many things that I could be, paying attention to in physical form, and it's like streaming.
Well, I feel like once I've spent $70 on the vinyl, it justifies me listening to it on for free.
Yeah, and then you preserve it. You protect it by not listening to it.
I buy a lot of Blu-rays, but I'd rather whatever I want to watch be on Netflix or something because it's just a lot easier.
Well, the other night I chose something to watch, and I knew I had it on Blu-ray upstairs, but the problem was it's upstairs.
It's upstairs. That is the problem. Everyone I've talked to who has multi-level homes go, you end up, you just work it out, so you're only going up those stairs once a day. And everything just piles up at the bottom of the stairs. When you go up.
As soon as I have my new cinema room set up, it won't be a problem because that will be upstairs. But anyway.
What you need is a fireman pole to get down, or like one of those plane emergency slides that you can put on the balcony, so you can so getting down is fun.
Yep.
And then spend that money and put that elevator in for getting up. It takes it's like a dishwasher. Like, why does it take an hour and a half to wash dishes that take 30 minutes or 10 minutes if I did it by hand? It's the same with those domestic elevators. You're like, I could just walk up the stairs. It would take literally 15 seconds. And this elevator's taking a full-on minute.
Well, you never know when the gremlins are going to get into it. That's the problem.
I'm going to take that elevator. Yeah, you can get one of those stairs. One of the stair chairs.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking you were talking about.
Oh, no, I was talking about a proper elevator. I remember at Pinewood Cinema they had one of those things, and I tried to use it when I thought no one was paying attention, and it made a lot of noise, and I got well and truly busted. And it was slow.
The old Croydon cinemas had one, because the only way up to those bastard cinemas was stairs.
Yeah.
Hey, let's move on to pretty much the highlight of the show, which is Evil Dead. Evil Dead Rise is hitting cinemas this week, and people are really excited for this one. And we were lucky enough to get an interview with the two lead actresses, but I wanted to just pick your brain about Evil Dead for a little bit. We're both fans of it. What's your favourite order of installments?
Order? That's a tough question. I mean, look, it's probably... Oh, I don't know. Like, it depends on the mood. It's either Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead 3, Evil Dead, or it's Evil Dead 3, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead.
Oh, so
But
hard.
That being said, like, there is something super raw and engaging about Evil Dead.
Yep.
Really, it's mood dependent. It's like, what do you prefer, Night of the Living Dead or Return of the Living Dead? It really depends on my mood.
That's a good point. See, the funny thing for me is, like, I recognise number 2 as a bit of a masterpiece and a bit of almost a groundbreaking film. It kind of did things that other horror films hadn't done at the time, and yet, if I've been a few years without having seen any Evil Dead, I will always go back to the first one.
Yeah, right.
Even if that means I haven't got time to do the other two.
Yeah.
For some reason, I go back to
because you feel like
one.
you're watching it in order. Because it really is. The numbering system on Evil Dead, as I have said many times on the show, is false. You can just watch... Army of Darkness basically has... In that prelude sequence with Bridget Fonda is basically all you need to really know about Evil Dead 1 and 2.
Well, there was a conversation with Bruce Campbell somewhere on a podcast or an interview on a TV show where he said that there's clues in Evil Dead 2 that make it a sequel to Evil Dead 1 if you're paying attention.
Because I guess the theory is so in the narration at the start, he's going back to the cabin.
Yeah.
What kind of a piece of shit is
I've
Bruce Campbell?
I've always thought that
going back to, but he's got his. He does cut his hand off in the first one. He's got his hand in it.
No, that's number 2. That's definitely number 2.
He doesn't cut his hand off and put a chainsaw on in the first one.
No, he's got the chainsaw, but I don't think the hand doesn't.
His hand doesn't go. His hand doesn't get possessed.
I mean, there's going to be angry people listening if that is the case. But
it's been a long time since I've watched them properly.
I'm pretty sure number 2 is the whole hand thing, and they play it for comedy. It's very Three Stooges, whatnot. But anyway, and look, the whole. As we've said before, the whole origin of this podcast was Fake Shemp, the old website, which is an Evil Dead reference, from the Three Stooges. And so Evil Dead has a very, strong, big place in my heart. And I do have a massive Army of Darkness poster right behind me. It's
you do indeed.
People that watch our videos will see it.
With the little fake Shemps. The 3. Good little tissues, Ash. Good little tissues.
Anyway, so
I'm not that good. Good, bad. I'm the one with the gun. I honestly can't remember which of those versions is the proper one and which is the alternate.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Army of Darkness, though, the new Evil Dead Rise is coming out. This is an official sequel to Army of Darkness. What are you laughing at?
Oh, no, just laughing at the segue to move us along. You're like, speaking of Evil Dead, like you did. That's not.
Did I say speaking of Evil Dead or Army of Darkness?
Oh no! Don't ask me that question.
Yeah. Speaking of Army of Darkness, the new film is tied to that. So the Evil Dead Rise. You know how in Army of Darkness he discovers that there are 3 Necronomicons. Right, so he goes up to that cemetery and there's 3 there.
There's 3 there.
So those 3 then got displaced around the world, and one of them is sort of unearthed in Evil Dead Rise. So that's...
You know what? If they would have used that in the first Evil Dead remake, or whatever it is, with what's her name from Suburgatory and... What's her name?
I don't remember. But I really enjoyed that one. I do call it a sequel. Everyone calls it a remake or a reboot, but there's enough Easter eggs in there to suggest it's, you know,
I was going to say, but if that was the I would have been a lot more forgiving of it.
Yep.
If that was the premise. Look, to be honest, I watched it that one time theatrically. I have not watched it again. All I remember is that it's like a
redo.
But they go there for a intervention.
Yeah,
and you're like, I don't like any of these characters. I hope they all die.
So just for you know, as far as I'm concerned, the connection that makes it a sequel to me and the Easter eggs is obviously there's the Oldsmobile out the front when they arrive, like Ash has been there. There's the claw marks at the trapdoor, and then the demonic voice in reverse is saying history repeats, as if this has all taken place before and you're not the first, implying that Ash has been there.
Has been there, right.
Whereas this one, it doesn't actually reference the previous movies other than we know it's the Necronomicons from Army of Darkness.
Did you ask the filmmakers? Because you've interviewed them, haven't you?
Yeah, well, we are about...
No, not of the new one, of the last one. The producer, they only produced this one, right? Was it the...
No. Those guys had nothing to do with this new one. I mean, obviously Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert, and Bruce Campbell. But no, the directors. That was
Raphael something.
Yeah, and Alvarez or whatever his name.
Yeah, Fede Alvarez.
We did interview. What was that for? That was for something else.
I think it was Lights Out 2 or something. Or what's the other one?
Don't Speak 2. Oh, it was Jared, I think, that interviewed them.
Yeah, right.
And then gave it to us for the show.
For the show.
Anyway, that's a long way to get to this interview.
We should retitle the show. Like, two old men who can't remember things. It's not as catchy as Good Movie Monday, but it'd be more accurate.
Look, it's an interesting episode. I'll give you that.
We're testing the friendship of our listeners.
We've had a few snafus on this episode that people aren't aware of, and that's kind of thrown us for a tenner.
No, I'm always like this.
So, the reason we've stretched this segment out so much is because the interview is very short. When you do these press junkets, sometimes you only get a very minute amount of time. And this one, I jumped on Zoom with them and I was told, right, you got 5 minutes, go. And it turns out I only got 4 minutes. Like, they didn't even give me the full 5.
Did you send in a written complaint in triplicate?
But the good news is that we crammed a lot into 4 minutes. Like, I got a lot out of them and they were good fun. And so we're going to play that interview right now. We're chatting with Lily Sullivan and Alyssa Sutherland. And I know that Lily Sullivan has agreed to come back on the show at a later date. So we'll have much more to talk to her about. Yeah. So anyway, don't go anywhere. It's 4 minutes. Like, you can do it. You can do it.
You've had to listen to a lot of shit to get to this 4 minutes. So don't disappoint yourself now by turning it off.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, Evil Dead Rise. Everyone's excited. Let's.
And I think luckily, because of the nonsense that we spout, the timing where the interviews come in is different every week. So you can't like I do on the WTF podcast. You can't just skip past his shit at.
And I don't chapter it either.
Yeah,
I could,
but you don't. Suck on that, listeners.
You don't look so good, Mom.
Hey, Alyssa, Lily, it's an absolute pleasure to be chatting with you both. How are you?
Hi, we're great.
This is an absolutely gnarly film. It's an excellent entry into the franchise. What a
grueling experience this was for both of you. Like, you were put through the ringer. Was this as exhausting for you as it was to watch?
Yep, it absolutely was.
Deeply exhausting.
Yeah.
And then you'd have nightmares when you get home. It was an all-rounder.
Can you talk about like what it's like to be caked in so much goop and gore?
I had a spray water bottle on me at all times because my skin would stick to itself and my clothing, and would have to like lay in my trailer and spritz myself so I could open my eyes again, or like close them even. Like it was gross, and it'd been brewing for 6 months prior, which I thought was great. It was aged like a fine wine.
It sounds absolutely gross. How familiar were both of you with the Evil Dead franchise before making this movie?
I wasn't familiar with it at all. I'd heard of it, of course, but I'm pretty pathetic when it comes to watching horror films. I'm way too easy of a scare, and then I can't sleep. So I watched them once I was about to have a chat with Lee about doing the film.
You braved it.
I braved it in the middle of the day. Yeah.
And
that's incredible.
Yeah, for me, grew up on horror. My mom, like, go to the cinema by herself, like, and see Texas Chainsaw Massacre when it first came out, like, alone at night. So it runs in my blood.
Excellent. You're speaking my language, that's for sure. So this film, like, there's a very strong maternal theme going on here, running through the story. Both of your characters are very, like, intrinsically connected to that. Was it integral in creating the story? Like, meaning, was it important for you developing it as it was for us watching?
I mean,
go for it.
I think with horror, I was saying this before, like when people watch horror, they come in with an analytical brain. They come in wanting to prove that it doesn't scare them or doesn't shock them. So I think the more you can give it a full body and the more you can lace themes that people can relate to and then flip them on their head and slice them in half and then chop them up. It's always better. People care more, which I think for the Evil Dead franchise, I think it's nice that we played with that complexity more, moving it forward.
Yeah, I think what we've done is, like, I keep saying that it feels like we made a really naughty film.
Yeah.
Because, like, you don't often see a mother turn on her children in their own home.
It's like spider-like mother eats children.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it is a bit like that. But people.
But
yeah.
Children.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about that maternal stuff, director Lee Cronin's previous movie was very maternal as well. He has a very strong, I guess, cinematic voice. How would you describe him as a director?
He's awesome. I loved working with Lee. He, when it came to his interacting with me, he really made me feel very comfortable and confident to try whatever I wanted. And so I had complete freedom with him. I loved every minute of it. Yeah, I thought it was wonderful.
I think being a writer-director is always an actor's dream because, you know, they came up with this in their mind and you're breathing life into it, so it becomes such an awesome relationship. And he's very specific, which I love, and he's an Evil Dead OG fan and writes incredibly strong powerhouse female characters that, I mean, just from my experience and scripts I've read, I'm like, it rarely comes around. So.
Yeah, and I think also, like, I didn't ever have to explain a female perspective to Lee.
No, yeah, he barely even talks about that. Like, that's not even a thing. He's like, I just came up with these characters.
Yeah.
They're like, we're like, did you realize the majority of the cast? He's like, oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I hate how short these things are, but thank you so much for spending time to chat about the movie. I do hope that later down the track, you know, we could see Beth and Cassie maybe teaming up.
Totally, like Army of Darkness. Just take it somewhere else and tip it on its head.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size. And you know, gentlemen, a lot of filmmakers say the 70s were the best decade for film because that's when they say that the studios were collapsing and the inmates were running the asylum, and it's before big corporations took over all the different studios. We have all been on we've done episodes on Bonehead, and we all agree that's bullshit, and the best year of cinema was 1989. What 1970s movies do you think should be remade? Who would like to go first?
fine. You know what? I'm going to talk about one that I, to be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen, but I'm like, I think we should probably do a remake of this. Though I want to keep the soundtrack because it's a great Ennio Morricone soundtrack. Yes. Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion. You kids ever see this picture?
No, it doesn't have a 3-word title like the one I'm going to talk about, so that's pointless.
It's basically about somebody that is. There's some people that say it's more appropriate now than it was historically, especially given that we had an elected official say he could go out in the street and kill somebody and nobody would even question him anymore, or he'd be even more popular because of it. This is a chief of police enters the apartment of a lover who asks how he'll pretend to kill her tonight, except instead of engaging in the usual role play, he actually kills. And then it's about how nobody's going to question it. Nobody's going to do anything. I'm simplifying the plot greatly, but it's the type of film that we don't tend to see now. And it seems that it would be very appropriate to look at remaking it. Though, again, I'd keep the soundtrack because how are you going to do better?
All right. Mine is going to be a horror film. And this movie has been made several different times, but one of the bigger production versions of this actually starred Sandra Dee, Dean Stockwell, and Ed Begley Sr. And they all three were in an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation of the Dunwich Horror, directed by Daniel Haller. I've actually seen this movie. It's about Wilbur Whateley travels to the Arkham Miskatonic University to borrow the legendary Necronomicon, but everything doesn't quite work out like it's supposed to.
What?
We have never got, I know the Gordon films, and I know that there's basically In the Mouth of Madness is a Lovecraft movie, and it's one of John Carpenter's last classic film. We've never gotten a big budget version. What? Underwater is the closest thing we've got to kind of a big budget Lovecraft film, guys. That's probably it. I would love to finally, I know that Del Toro is going to make it The Mountains of Madness, but I think somebody should do the Dunwich Horror. And even though it's been made several times, this is the one that has a little bit more of a budget, a little bit more of a production. It's not a terrible movie. It's just, it stars Sandra Dee. And what's interesting is Curtis Hanson, who would go on to direct 8 Mile, Hand That Rocks the Cradle, is one of the screenwriters.
I think it's time for Hollywood to get their act together and make a very high budget special effect remake of Laser Blast.
You could have went with Jacob's Run.
I could have gone
Logan's Run. Logan's Run.
Or Logan's Ladder.
Logan's Run is right there, Chad. You could have said it. It could have went.
Could have talked about Logan's Ladder and Jacob's Run. Go, Chad.
Nope. I go Laser Blast. It's one of the Charlie Band's first films. It's about a teenager who stumbles upon an alien weapon, basically turns his arm into a cannon, and he slowly devolves into this grotesque monster. If you've ever seen the poster, the person on the poster looks nothing like the actor. He looks like a zombie Klaus Kinski, which makes it even more desirable to watch.
It was made fun of on Mystery Science Theater 3000 as well. Though Leonard Maltin did give it 2.5 stars.
And on IMDb, it currently has a 2.8 rating.
And we've interviewed someone who worked on it.
Yeah. So I highly think you could remake Star Wars. You could remake Jaws. You could remake Jacob's Stepladder. It's
that's a half-hour version.
I just want to see Jacob's Stepladder.
But no, Laser Blast.
Laser Blast. Pew, pew, pew. Somebody get the crappie. It's the only thing that will stop them.
I will be for this, Chad, if they keep the aliens looking exactly the same. I want no CGI on these aliens.
Oh, no. They have to be CGI, but they can look exactly the same. It's CGI made to look like stop motion.
Brilliant. You now have all 50 of my American dollars. Bonehead Weekly.
Funsies.
Thank you very much, Boneheads. The Bonehead Weekly podcast is available wherever you get podcasts from. You all know that. You listen every week, of course, and you can also find them on YouTube. Joe's a very handsome man and well worth watching.
Sorry, Chad and James.
Well, they're gorgeous. But yes, we do appreciate them. They are from Kentucky, and the Bonehead Weekly podcast.
2 of them are from Kentucky. I guess they're
all from Kentucky.
They're all from Kentucky, but they're no longer all based in Kentucky.
No, but the podcast hails from Kentucky. All right, so
is that because that's where the guy who presses record is? That
and if you watch the YouTube videos, they have Evil Dead poster in the background, or Joe does at least. He's Sam Raimi's #1 fan.
Yeah, right.
Yes. But we're past that. We're past the Evil Dead part. People are on board now for recommendations. This is where they get their pens and their paper out and they make a note of what we love. And
Because we no longer bother putting it on Letterboxd because we're only doing really one film.
Yeah.
So you got to actually listen to the show.
It'll be like just end of year,
Not
season.
That anyone bothered going to the Letterboxd to go, what movies were they talking about this episode?
No, and that's why I say get your pen and paper, like it's a thing. People pay attention.
Like they give a shit about what we recommend. No.
Well, no, I've had people say to me, "Hey, I watched that movie you talked about on the show. That was good." Or that was pretty average. Usually the latter.
The latter, yeah.
But
considering your taste, yeah, I can understand that.
All right, well, how about this then, smart ass? So I wanted to do a Mel Brooks kind of direction with this one, but I wanted to watch a movie I'd never seen before, and then I realised I've seen all the Mel Brooks ones. So I thought, go into the Mel Brooks Studios or whatever the production company he has. He does some really subversive, weird dramas that he produced in the 80s, Elephant Man being one of them. And he produced...
that's my...
I am not the devil. And he produced another one in the 90s with Bill Paxton called The Vagrant, which I had fond memories of for some reason. And then when I went to watch it, or fond memories of the trailer, I should say, then I went to watch it.
Didn't like it. See, it's been recommended to me, and based on that recommendation, I bought the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray.
Well, maybe watch it. I mean, I need to persevere, but I got about 15 to 20 minutes in and thought, this is I can't recommend this. I'm not enjoying it at this point in time.
Right.
And I didn't have enough time to, if I was going to switch movies, I had to do it then and there, so I could do it in time for this show. So I found another one that he had produced, and his wife, Anne Bancroft, directed, and it's called Fatso, from 1980, and it stars Dom DeLuise, also Anne Bancroft. And this is wonderful. This is from that time in the 80s when obesity was becoming, an epidemic. Mass marketing from all these food corporates, were directing all these commercials of delicious foods and whatnot to people. And Dom DeLuise, the thing is, though, he's the fatso in the movie that's addicted to food and can't give it up. But he's not that fat in this. He's been fatter. If you've seen Cannibal Run.
We've all been fatter. We've all been fatter, Glenn.
So I'm watching it, though, and I'm just thinking, well, fat in 1980 is different to fat now in 2023. We've really
it was the era of perfect and the gym craze and stuff like that. Whereas now it's all...
But he was so self-conscious, Anyway, the movie really it hit me in the feels, and it really struck a chord with me because I identified with certain aspects of his addiction, not necessarily gorging food. And the film doesn't really address it that way. It's more if something's cooking on the stovetop, he has to try it. And it's not just try it once. It's like, well, then get a bit of bread and try it with that. And it's done in a very realistic way. And Dom DeLuise, I don't know if he was ever considered for awards or any accolades, but he's bloody good. He can act. He should have won awards. And he gets emotional. And then there's the comedic stuff, which I'm sure Mel Brooks had a real hand in because it goes from serious to comedic without you even realizing, particularly the scenes with him and his brother. And yeah, anyway. So Fatso, it's for free on YouTube. Really, really clean looking copy that might have come from a Blu-ray. But there you go. Fatso. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. I've heard of it. I've seen the poster.
Yeah, the poster's great too because it's at the top of the poster. It's like a tagline. It says "Things you can't eat," and it's a list of everything. Yeah. And there's a scene where his brother is eating the most delicious looking pasta, lasagna, and then he's got a bowl of kale. And the other thing I thought when he was eating the kale is I thought kale was a relatively new thing because I certainly never heard of kale until my mid-20s maybe.
Yeah.
And back in 80 he was eating kale, so there you go.
It's always been the food of weight loss.
It has. The benefits are great, but it's disgusting stuff.
I quite enjoy it in a smoothie with fruit.
And
you can't taste it.
But a lot of people fry it. It's you can have it cooked, it's fried and crispy.
People have suggested that you can do that with cabbage, and I'm like, look, I'm sure.
Well, you can. I mean, I fry up...
I'm sure. I could dump it in a pile of shit too. I'm not going to do either of those things.
I fry up Brussels sprouts and they're cabbages. Little
cabbages.
Yeah.
It's all gross. It's all disgusting.
So, Fatso, anyway.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
Fatso.
Maybe one person out there will watch it.
Yeah. Dom DeLuise. Was it, what are his sons' names?
Oh, it was the one from Jump Street, 21 Jump Street?
There's one from 21 Jump Street who then was on Sequest DSV.
Yeah.
And then there's the other one who's also in all of those shows because he always, whenever one brother's in, the other brother turns up in.
It's not nepotism at all.
They're very much like the Mandalores. that regard.
Yeah.
They're just more Canadian
And you-
TV.
and you can't tell which one's which.
They're the Canadian TV version. Michael DeLuise and Peter DeLuise.
Yep.
There we go.
2 Deloise.
I'm going to talk about or recommend. It's not a movie.
Oh, well, then what are you doing?
It's a mini series, but it aired on TV in 2 feature-length parts, and I've got it on VHS, but I've only ever had part 2, and it's called If Tomorrow Comes. It's based on it's one of those Sidney Sheldon, TV, over 2 cracking nights.
I wasn't expecting this.
And yeah, I didn't realize it was the Evil Dead show. Otherwise, I would have picked a horror film. But
we do have like a run sheet and a schedule that we can both check off, and
but that would defeat the purpose of me not doing any prep work. So I've only ever had part 2 on VHS. I've never been able to find part 1, and it is up on the. I happened to, and I paid no attention to it. I had no interest in watching it, and then many years ago, when my mother was still alive, I had gone over to the US, and while I was there, I had subscribed to the Warner Archive channel, VOD platform, because I couldn't do it over here. Like it wouldn't accept my credit card. It had a lot of issues, even with VPNs and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd signed up to it over there, and then over here I could watch it. They only ever had 500 films on their catalog. A lot of them were these kind of TV miniseries, and Mum loved it, and that's why I kind of had done it for her.
Yeah.
And I walked in one day, and she was watching it, and I'm like, "This actually looks really good. What is it?" And then I saw the name, I'm like, "Oh, I've got the tape of that."
Is this where your addiction to Hallmark and sappy shit began?
Look, this is much later after this. I was already into the. I've got box sets. I've got the DVD box sets, the Mills and Boon box sets, which are always like Charles Shaughnessy, and they're all all the stars of The Nanny in different roles.
We keep banking, potential movie marathons, and we just never live them out.
But anyway, but finally I found online somewhere. I just did a search, and maybe Daily Motion or something had both parts, and so I watched it, and it is fucking excellent. It's great. It basically the movie's about two con men. One doesn't start off as a con man. One is Madeline Smith from Funny Farm with Chevy Chase, who is possibly the most gorgeous woman alive. I'm not going to lie. But she's a nice, innocent kind of bank teller who has fallen in love and is engaged to this millionaire. And something happens at her job, and she's accused of embezzling funds, which she didn't do. Like that, she's just been set up. She's a scapegoat. But immediately, her fiance ditches her because his family don't really approve anyway because she's poor. No, that's right. She has to leave. She has to leave town for a couple of days because her mother dies, but then she finds out her mother's lost her company and is bankrupt and all this sort of stuff. And so there's this massive tragedy. While she's still reeling from that, she goes back home to find that she's been accused of embezzling. So she ends up in prison, where she becomes the warden's nanny. Like, it's a women's prison. She becomes the warden nanny. She gets deserted by all her family and friends and everything. She's completely abandoned, but she becomes the warden's nanny, and then she's planning an escape, and she plans to kind of use the kid as a way to get out. But then, just before she can do it, the kid falls into a creek and almost drowns, and she saves the kid. So then the warden helps her get out. But so she gets out, she can't get any job as an ex-prisoner. She can't get a legitimate job.
Yep.
She can't go back to the bank, even though it's been found since that she was in fact innocent, and she was exonerated. She can't any job. They won't touch her. So she gets offered a job as a. She gets like this. Jeweler basically says, "Look, go to this place, meet these people on this train. They'll give you some jewels. You bring it back, and I'll give you this bunch of money." And of course, it's not quite right. But all these things happen. She ends up. To cut a long story short, she becomes like a jewel thief, and then she meets this rich guy in Europe who trains her to be like a con woman. And then she meets Tom Berenger, who is also a con man, who is tried to quit being a con man and has married this rich woman and got a job in her brother's company. But then he finds out that they're basically using him as well, and his wife's cheating on him, and all this sort of stuff. It's very, very melodramatic. But
yeah,
then they basically they basically team up and perform cons together. And then there's this out of nowhere, seemingly, there's this really weird subplot where is it David Keith or Keith David? It's
I was about to ask you which David David is it? It's the black guy or the white
ginger.
guy?
It's the ginger.
Okay,
it's the ginger. David Keith is like an insurance investigator who's also a psychotic killer on the down low who gets involved.
So is he the tagline there?
Yes, he is. That's him.
What is
on
the
tagline?
Cover?
Murder Madness, a psycho must be stopped, which is like, so it's 2 feature length. Yeah. I mean, this part 2 is 170 minutes. So maybe it's 3 feature length.
There?
No, not at all. It's such a weird.
I'm joking.
Maybe it comes through. He pops up for like 5 minutes here and there as the thing goes on, but then it's maybe the last 10 minutes is about him.
So the question begs that you've got volume 2 or part 2 there on VHS. So have you been looking for number 1?
I have been active. It's a saved eBay search. It has never come up.
Wow, that's awesome. There you go. So how many people are gonna?
No one. Not based on my long-winded synopsis there, but it's just a great Sunday Arvo watch.
I do enjoy those type of
over
movies.
A couple of. I wonder if maybe it's on Amazon. It's on definitely. I watched it online because, as I said, I do not have part 1 on tape.
There was an Aussie one around about that same time, very similar. It was 2 parts. I wish I could remember something C. Anyway, I won't.
The Shirley.
Probably shouldn't have even said it. No one's going to give a fuck. But that's
Sound like Alice.
Yeah, that's it. Why not? Harp in the South.
Just naming all of the miniseries. For Rich Man, Poor Man.
Dirtwater Dynasty.
Yeah. Upstairs, Downstairs.
All the Rivers Run.
Jeez. And what's the follow-up for All the Rivers Run?
All the Rivers Run 2?
No, it's got another name.
No, I don't.
A river runs through it. No,
no, that's a good movie.
There's a follow-up to it anyway.
Yeah,
what's the one with Rebecca Gilling? Exit to Eden or East of Eden or Return to Eden?
East of Eden. I mean, she would have liked to have seen her in Exit to Eden.
Yeah. One of them's James Dean, and the other one is Rebecca Gilling.
It's not just Eden, isn't it?
I think it's
Return to Eden.
Return to Eden.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another show.
Jarrett will know because I found the DVD, and he was there. I think at like a. What's the name of that? Jesus, my memory.
We're having a good one. Well, he thinks
at a record store, and I found it at a secondhand at a record store that also had a bunch of DVDs, and I waxed lyrical about how excited I was to find it.
I was going to say, while you're thinking about that, I may as well just thank everybody for listening. Those of you that are still here,
I can picture the sign of the store.
You know what to do. Find us on our social medias, or just go to goodmoviemonday.com and click on the relevant social medias. I also do the Wednesday Up Late podcast with Chloe, so make sure you tune into that as well. I want to thank Universal Pictures Australia because they actually teed up that junket for the Evil Dead Rise interview, so without them it wouldn't have been possible. And hopefully we can get Lily on the show sometime later in the year. But anyway, thank you, Ben. Been fun. And just to lift that curtain again like we tend to do, it's becoming a bit of an ongoing motive on the show. We're recording differently, and I'm sure people have picked up on that, and we're doing the headphone thing like everyone else seems to do in podcast world, and it's the first time we've done it, and Ben's enjoying the shit out of his own voice.
Oh yeah.
But I did notice, and it may not come through in the recording, that when you were playing around with that VHS, you could hear it.
Oh really? I can't hear it on mine.
On the table. Oh yeah, it's coming through hard.
It's trotting along the table like a horsey.
I'll just look like a dickhead when it doesn't actually come through on the actual show.
On the show, it's just on the mic.
So anyway, if the sound has been a little bit different, hopefully it's for the better. And
did I mention that the movie I was talking about was called If Tomorrow Comes? Did I actually say the title?
I think you did. Or maybe just because I was looking at it, it was in my head anyway. Hey, you never know. I might have just cut that out of the entire show.
Right, yeah. Goes too long, cut it.
That's right. Would you like to hear another song from the Air soundtrack?
Yes, please.
Do you like Mike and the Mechanics?
I do like Mike and the Mechanics.
Do you need a miracle?
I do need a miracle.